I made a mistake in some planning as far as I'm concerned. Most of you know that Belinda and I were at the ICOC meeting last week up in Coeur d'Alene, and so I didn't get to preach. And I'm not going to get to preach this morning, and that's a real mistake for me because I get withdrawals. But a few weeks ago, you remember that we had our son-in-law, Brett, come, and we prayed for him and sent him off to Haiti. And he went down there, and he spent about 8 days working at the orphanage, and he's back. And so I wanted him to come and share some things with you about the work there. And if you don't know this, the ministry is Eyes Wide Open International, and it's an orphanage in outside of Port-au-Prince, and we are regularly supporting this through the church every month. And right at the present, there are 27 children, and the church is supporting 4 of those children. So we're providing food, shelter, clothing, education, medical needs, everything that they have for 4 children a month. And so it's really neat to be able to have that outlet, but it's even neater to know that we have some people that are going down there periodically and seeing where our money is going, because there are horror stories about money that's been sent to Haiti. And so one of the things I asked Brett before he left, I said, Brett, eyes and ears open. I want to know, are we putting our money in a good place or not? And that was my request when he went, to come back with that information. And I think he'll be sharing that with you this morning, that is a good thing. Now, are we ready? I know he had a nice slide presentation for the big screen here, but since we did it the last time and it worked perfectly, there's one little part that's an adapter that's not here, and so I don't think they got the slide presentation together. Brett and Rich and Kevin have been working feverishly for the last almost an hour to try to get it done, and we're just not going to happen probably. But you can see the pictures at the close on his laptop. He'll have it displayed over here, and if you'd like to come and see exactly what's going on, he's got some great pictures. And we just apologize. We thought we had it all covered, and somebody walked out with something, I guess, that they needed worse than was needed here, they figured.
Hey, Jim.
But
also, we'll try to get it maybe posted on our YouTube or,
right.
or Facebook, so at some point that you can view it there too.
Yeah, that's good. You can do it one way or the other. But we do have Brett, and we're thankful for that. And he's going to bless us. Now, while he's coming up, I'd like to introduce Gary and Linda. Would you all wave your hand?
Gary and Linda.
Gary and Linda is Brett's mom and dad. And Brett is married to our oldest daughter, Jennifer. And I could have just introduced him by saying he's my favorite son-in-law, because that's the kind of stuff my other son-in-law would do to me. But I'm going to hurt him even worse.
Oh, no.
The other son-in-law is the Vespa rider. Well, he's not even really a Vespa rider. He had a Vespa that didn't run.
That's bad.
That's really bad.
That's really bad.
So I have to give him what for every so often. Before I turn it over to Brett, I do want to say I made mention of Dan a while ago, and then someone asked me how he was doing. Dan is actually, if everything is going right, midway between Elk's Rehab Hospital and the Promise Church in Nampa. This is the first day he's been out for anything for 6-7 weeks since the stroke took place. And so he's out on a maiden voyage and a trial run this afternoon.
Yeah.
And it's a big deal because it's only Dan and it's only Loretta. And they wanted them to just say right off the bat, you might as well learn to do it by yourself, because that's what's going to happen most of the time. So be praying for them. And he's so excited about going. And he's making progress. Keep praying for him that everything will come around. Kevin is the same way. Continue to pray for him. Jim is recovering from his surgery. There's just a lot of people that have been sick that we need to pray for. Just found out that Les is going to have surgery on his back Tuesday morning, 9:30, St. Luke's. So be praying about that. Also a report, we got to see Dan, Ed and Lynette, what was that, Friday night? Friday night. That was Ed's best day since surgery. And so he had a really rough time. They did a far more extensive surgery than I think they let him know. And so continue to pray for them, but he is on the mend. And hopefully he's going to be able to get back to doing everything that he needs to do. So a lot of people sick and in need in those ways, so please remember them in prayer. Out of all of that request, we do have a praise report. Jeff came with a situation Tuesday night that we prayed about. It was a humongous deal for the company that he works for, and he's the guy doing the bidding. And it was going to mean the company not having work for the next many months, or the company having work way on into next year. And a lot was riding on his shoulders. And we prayed about that Tuesday night, and he got the word Thursday afternoon about 2:30. He got the contract.
All right.
So that was a tremendous answer to prayer, and a tremendous blessing. And particularly for him, because, I mean, you know, it was like the buck stops here. You know, it was all on him, so praise God for that. But keep these things in mind. You can see Steve and Deborah here are healing well. They're both moving around and looking almost normal again. And I know that they appreciated your prayers and your visits and your care and concern for them. So we've had a rough summer. I mean, it's been bam, bam, bam on a lot of people. But thankfully, God's been faithful, and He'll continue to be, and He'll do what we need to do. And I hope I didn't miss sharing something that I needed to. What? Oh, yes, one other praise report. Sorry, Brad. You're gonna have more time than I usually have here. One other praise report, yes. Many of you know that our less liked son-in-law and his wife, our youngest daughter. I love Rob. He's just a kidder, and I have to kid him. You know, they've been praying about adopting a little 7-year-old girl. Well, that came through this week. And they had her for the last few days. And we didn't know for sure what way it was going to go. And so they got together for a family meeting after Kelly and Rob found out what the answer was. And they told the little girl we're having a family meeting, and they have 2 other little girls. They're 6, 7, and 8. They're just right up there together. And she was holding the little girl Annika that they were adopting, and she said she could just feel her heart just pounding like crazy over this family meeting, because I guess she sensed something's going to happen here. When they told her that she was going to get to live forever with them, she said that, Kelly said she jumped up and just ran around all over the house. I knew it! I knew it! I knew it was going to happen! I knew it! And then she said, I love you! I love you! I love you! And she said, I don't have to move anymore! And she just kept saying, I don't have to move anymore, because she's just been from foster home to foster home. And so that was quite an exciting thing. Well, the next thing she had to do was call Grandma. And she told Grandma, then she had to talk to Grandpa. The other grandkids don't even want to talk to me, and she did. She'll not want to talk to me again later too, you know. It'll all be Grandpa. But anyway, another praise report. So thank you so much. Brett, thank you for going. Thank you for giving us this good report today. and we just appreciate you so much. And I think he's going to share the fact that there may be opportunities for others to go on mission trips and things you might be able to do if you want to do that. Thank you, Brad.
Bonjour. I was going to recite all this stuff in Creole for you, but I don't fully understand it, and I know some of it, if you don't speak Creole or if you don't know French, some of it's going to go right over your head. So, but I feel very privileged to be able to share some of the information that I was able to acquire as I went to Haiti. One of the things, first of all, I just want to tell you just a little bit about how it went. I mean, just the whole process. First of all, I had the plane ticket to leave, and it was a red-eye flight, basically leaving, here and going to Denver, and then Denver to Miami, and then Miami the next day we would go into Port-au-Prince. And so I had it all planned out, which it's amazing how God works, because sometimes we have these plans in our mind of this is how it's going to happen, and then God switches things on us. And I think one of the things we've got to do is, understand that. And that's an amazing thing, because there are things that He has for us that if we were going to do the thing that we thought, we would miss out on some opportunities. And so one of the things that was amazing was, as it was getting closer, I started, thinking about it, praying about it, spending some time trying to research Haiti, so that I went with kind of a background knowledge. So I went on like the U.S. Embassy site. Don't ever go on that and take a look at Haiti, because it's like, don't go. Basically what it said, don't go. I mean, if you do go, here are the concerns. Here's what's going to happen. Don't drive in a car. Don't drive in a taxi. Don't stop. Don't look at anybody. Make sure your wallet's in the front. Make sure that you don't take out cash. If you take out your cell phone, somebody's going to come after you. I mean, it was like terrible stuff. So then I thought, okay, well, it's okay. It's okay. God's in control. This is one of those things where you just let it go, And it was about 2 days before I was, planning to go, and I get a phone call from Nicole, and she was supposed to meet me in Miami. So that was kind of my security blanket to an extent of like, okay, I don't have to leave the U.S. without seeing Nicole. And she's been to Haiti a million times, so it should all be good. And so anyway, she calls right before and says, Richard, one of the people who works in the orphanage, is sick, and I left early. So basically she left, a couple days before I was even planning to go. And she says, it'll be all okay, Brett, don't worry about it, I'll send you directions. I thought, okay, directions, I can do this. So she sends this email, and it says that, it's, line by line, this is what's going to happen, this is the next piece, this is what's going to happen the next piece. Well, I thought, okay, I can do this, it's going to be okay, I'm going by myself. And so what happens is I fly, just coach going to Miami, but then she has these suitcases, and basically the easiest way to get supplies to Haiti is to fly first class, because you can take 3 70-pound bags and check them, plus a carry-on, instead of shipping things there, which you don't know if it's going to get there, you don't know how it's all working. And so I've never flown first class before. So imagine this, flying first class into Haiti. Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. So it's like you climb up to this peak to get to the very best that America has to offer on an airline, to dive down to the very most impoverished that is on the Western Hemisphere. So anyway, so I get to the Miami airport. The lady who was supposed to meet me and give me some additional bags that had swimsuits. We were taking all kinds of stuff down there, food. swimsuits, supplies, all kinds of stuff. And so that lady never shows up. So I'm like, man, everything that I'm trying to do is just not working. What's happening here? So then she ends up coming kind of the last minute. I get the airplane, or get the 3 suitcases onto the airplane, get on the plane, flying to Port-au-Prince, and it's like a 2-hour trip. And so as I'm flying, this was the next day, 'cause I stayed the night. So I'm flying, and I'm sitting by these pastors who are also sitting in first class. And so it was the same thing that I was reading on the internet about, going to Haiti, and they're saying things like, okay, well, we haven't been here before, but this is what we read about, and so we've got our money in our front pocket, don't look at anybody in the eye. I mean, there was all like this prep talk before you actually got off the plane. So as we flew into Haiti, you just see like smoldering fires, lack of vegetation, and it's just like, okay, it's going to work, God, you're good, it's all going to be okay. So then we land, and Nicole is supposed to meet me at the airport. Again, another issue. So I get off the plane, she's got my instructions of what I'm supposed to do. Go here, Brett, tip this guy, give your bag to this person, check the passport here. So I go through all that stuff, and then the lady who starts looking at my 3 bags that I brought, she's looking at me and she's seeing like swimsuits, like 70 girls' swimsuits, and all these like little knick-knack toys and all kinds of stuff. And I just saw her raise her eyebrow, looking at me like, "Are you kidding me? What are you doing?" Well, she didn't speak English. She's talking to me in Creole. I didn't know Creole, and so she finally lets me through. I take my 3 suitcases. I'm walking through, and as you're walking out of this airport, I mean, there are just people everywhere, and everybody wants money, and they see you a mile away. You're an American, you have money, so they go to the extent of, you have one person helping you with your bag, 3 or 4 other people touch your bag, and if they touch your bag, that means you got to pay them. So you're constantly saying, no, just one, this person. So I go through this thing, this big tunnel of people, and come out to a huge crowd. There's probably like 300 people, like basically standing at the end of this walkway. And as I was walking through, they're all screaming and yelling and making all this, noise. And there's a little pathway between, out of this walkway. So I'm walking, I've got my bags, going through, I see all these people screaming. There's no other place to go. You got to go right through the middle of them, and so I'm just walking through the middle of them, and they're trying to grab onto things. They're talking to you and saying things you can't understand. And I'm like, okay, well, once I see Nicole, it's all good. Everything's going to be okay. So I walk through, get through this huge crowd of people, get to the other side. I look, there's all these UN trucks that come with people with machine guns in the back of them, cars parked everywhere, just people. It was just chaos. So I get out, I've got my 3 bags, and I'm standing there, and I look around. Okay, Lord, this is the time where you come through, because I can't find Nicole. I don't know how this is all going to work. So I look over, and I'm trying to kind of get my bearings in this. I hear my name. This guy says, "Brett." Who in the world would know me in Haiti? This is crazy. So I've got my 3 bags, and I had written, you write your contact information, and it's hanging down on the strap. Well, it was Richard, the guy who she went there earlier to help, who was sick, and he just, I was the only white person there, so it's pretty obvious that here's Brett. He looks out, sees my name, and I just gave him a big hug. I didn't know him, but he knew my name, so I knew it was okay. We found Nicole. I had walked right past her. She had gotten some special privilege to get up closer to the airport. She was going to surprise me, and I was like, "You did surprise me," but it was a different kind of surprise than what I thought. So as this trip to Haiti kind of unfolded, there were a lot of things that happened that were really amazing. And one of the things I wanted to talk about this morning is, just first of all, you guys have had an opportunity to hear people speak about Haiti. So I'm thinking you guys have already quite a bit of knowledge of Haiti. You've heard people talking about it, and and Belita's been, and so forth. But I think that one of the important things is to give you an opportunity to, you know, maybe even ask me some questions. Like, what are the things you're wondering about? The things that you're concerned about? You know, you obviously are sending money there and supporting. I'll give you information of what I was able to discover, but I want you to be thinking in the back of your mind, if there's something I say that, you know, you're like, I'd like to know a little bit more about that, feel free to ask me. I'd really like to be able to share more information about what I saw, and maybe some things that will help you understand what the real situation is like over there. First of all, just to talk a little bit about the country, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background, talk a little bit about the earthquake, and then what I saw when I was over there. First of all, the country was discovered by Columbus, 1492. Columbus comes over, and basically the Spanish take over the Hispaniola, which is Haiti and the Dominican Republic. So it's like a 2-hour flight south of Miami in the Caribbean. So it's this island that basically is all inhabited by the Spanish, and then the French come in. And as the French come in, basically the Spanish surrender the western side of the country to the French. And so that's what has become known as Haiti to this day. So they just have basically, Haiti has about a third of the western side of the country. When Columbus came over, I did some research. When he came over, I mean, the country was so rich and dense, you couldn't even walk onto the land. I mean, it was the ships landed and people tried to get off, and the vegetation was just so intense. Couldn't even get off the boat, barely. And so as the Spanish were there, they basically, there was a lot of terrible things that happened to the natives that were there, and the Spanish kind of basically took over, annihilated many of the natives that were there. The French came in, they got the western third of the country, and then as the French took over, basically the next thing that happened is the French decided they were going to export some things, and and they had all this rich land, so they started exporting things like sugar cane. They started cutting timber, forestry, all kinds of stuff, and then they had this large influx of African slaves who they were able to bring to Haiti. And so they became basically the wealthiest country in the Caribbean. They had all these, African slaves who were working there. They had a rich, dense land. They're exporting things. Things were going well. This is like 17th century. And so from that point on, what happened was the slaves decided that they were going to revolt. And so they did. And they revolted against the French government, and they won. And they became the first slave republic, basically the first slave nation that the world had ever seen. And so from that point on, you're thinking, okay, this is going well. Everything is working out. In the midst of that, there were some intense things that happened. One of the things that happened was the Catholic Church came in, and so you're going to see, you take a look at Haiti and you're going to see the Catholic Church, there are churches there and the influence of the Catholic Church. One of the concerns is you had people coming from Africa and other places, and they also brought their religion. Their religion was voodoo. I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of detail, but basically there's kind of like a calling on of ancestors and that type of thing that happened that was kind of the origins of this voodoo religion. So the Haitians believed that they could practice Catholicism and voodoo at the same time. Now the Protestants there said, heck no, you can't do that. But the Haitians, to this day, the voodoo is alive and well still there in Haiti. You'll talk to people and they know people who are involved in it. There's just a lot of wild stuff there. But one of the things that you take a look at the country and you're thinking everything's going well, and then there's this really strange thing that happens with religion, and then the next thing is you have this terrible political unrest that's taking place, and that's taken place for years. So there's been corrupt government, all kinds of terrible things that have happened. And then they just basically deforested much of the country. The sugarcane, was was an industry that they were able to export, and then now it's not so much. And then also, the other piece was that they kind of come to this place where they were kind of a world leader in the Caribbean to now the most impoverished country in the Western Hemisphere, and also the most illiterate. So where you're sending your money is one of the most needed places in the entire world for resources. One of the other things I was going to mention about the Catholic Church, and it just makes sense, as you're talking to people, they'll say that the Haitians didn't have anything. The Catholic Church came in and said, okay, well, we'll give you a free meal, we'll give you a place to stay, and we're going to teach you about Catholicism. You don't have anything, so the Haitians are saying, sign me up. That's great, I'll do it. So they were going and choosing that in many cases because they had opportunities, free meals, place to stay, that kind of thing. So it's not that they were all choosing Catholicism, they were incredibly poor. The country is beyond what you could imagine. The earthquake hit January 12th, 2010. It was a 7.0 magnitude on the Richter scale. Over 300,000 people were displaced and basically became homeless due to the earthquake. And it was 16 miles west of Port-au-Prince, which is the capital city. There were 316,000 deaths due to the earthquake, and 300,000 injured. And like I said, it was devastating. I mean, it was like insult to injury to the country. There were several people you talked to, and even kids at the orphanage. Where are your parents? My dad died in the earthquake. Where's your mom? I don't know. That's kind of a common response. I don't know where my family is. Some pretty devastating things that had taken place. So I know that as a church, you sponsor 3 children who are there, and I had a chance. Really, the background of this trip was, as I was praying about it, I said, Lord, give me scripture, give me something that's going to kind of connect with this piece for me. And one of the things that came up, I don't know if you have your Bibles with you, you can take a look at this, but it's James chapter 1. I'll just read it to you really quickly. If you have your Bible with you, you can turn to it. But it's James chapter 1, and it's verse 22. So, just to give you a little background, as you're turning there, Nicole came and spoke at this church. Dave sat right over here, and they came and stayed at our house prior to that. I have not known a family to drive from Columbus, Ohio to Star, Idaho to sleep on my floor, but they did, and they stayed there for 3 days, and I thought, who are these people? They are unique, never seen anything like this. They touched my life in that time period. It was incredible. You know that in the whole situation that has taken place, Dave, Nicole's husband, was murdered. All of you knew that, right? Familiar with that situation. So I knew going into this trip that I'm going into a war zone. I'm going into Port-au-Prince, where Dave was shot as he was leaving the bank, and I'm traveling through that exact same area, and I'm thinking, okay, is this right, Lord? Is this the right thing to do? And I kept getting this scripture, and it was, okay, Brett, Nicole, she is now a widow. You heard here last time that this is the second time she has become a widow. And then the other thing is, I'm going to help orphans, 28 orphans to be exact. So I'm like, okay, Lord, show me something. So orphans and widows. Take a look at verse 22. It says, "Do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. Anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like a man who looks at his face in a mirror and after looking at himself goes away and immediately forgets what he looks like. But the man who looks intently into the perfect law that gives freedom and continues to do this, not forgetting what he has heard, but doing it, he will be blessed in what he does. If anyone considers himself religious and yet does not keep a tight rein on his tongue, he deceives himself and his religion is worthless. Religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this: to look after orphans and widows in their distress and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world." As I read that scripture prior to going and meditating on it as I was there, I just kept thinking, okay, this is the time where you say, now you know, do what it says. I know that this church, talking to Jim, talking to Belita, I know this church is doing some amazing things. They were telling me about, going out to Sand Hollow and all the stuff you guys are doing out there. Awesome, awesome stuff. This was very convicting to me, and it's amazing what God does sometimes when you get to speak about something. You're speaking about something that's like hits you right between the eyes, so I'm talking probably more to myself than anybody. But as I kept reading this, I kept thinking, okay, now I do know. And because I know, I'm responsible. I know that God is saying, what you need to do is help orphans and widows. And maybe it's not what you would perceive as the calling of your life, or maybe what you were originally thinking of. But that's what God says. So if that's what He's saying to do, then we have no other choice but to say, God, if we are going to walk in your ways, we're going to do what you are calling us to do, then we are going to serve orphans and widows, and we're going to find a way to bless them. And so as I was there, I'm thinking, okay, I've got 28 kids. This is what Nicole asked me to do. She said, these kids don't have dads. Can you just hang out with the 28 kids? So I spent every day with 28 kids. I'll tell you, Haitian kids are different than American kids. One of the things that Haitian kids do is personal space means zero to them. Zero. And it doesn't matter how old they are, personal space is nothing. So in America, we get a little nervous. You start feeling a little strange when somebody gets too close. Even on the airplane, somebody's sitting too close, you start feeling a little uncomfortable. Not in Haiti. I walked up, first thing that happened is these girls, and they range, let me just tell you, they range in age from 5 to 16. And so as I walked up to the orphanage, all these kids start coming running out at me. And the girls, first thing that they do is they grab onto you and they want to kiss you. They don't kiss you on the lips, but they kiss you, they put their cheek right up next to you and they kiss you as you put your cheek next to their cheek. So from 5 years old up to 16, every girl does that. And then the boys, they're all over you. I learned a phrase, a couple phrases. One was "allez." "Allez" means go away. I can't handle it anymore. They said you're going to need a few of these phrases. One is "vini." "Vini" means come here, and "allez" means go away. And I thought, okay, well, I'm sure I'm going to be using "vini," come here. Well, no, I use "allez" probably more than the other. But you have to understand that they don't understand those boundaries, and they have no boundaries for that. And it's not that you're being cruel in any way. It's just that you can only handle so many of them. And Nicole couldn't continue to do that, day in and day out. So she needed a break at times, and so I was that person. And as they came, you'd have 5-year-olds, and they're just climbing all over you. And They all think it's amazing because you don't look like them. So I had my arm hair pulled probably more times than I ever have. They ran their fingers through my hair constantly. They just touch you. Everything, I mean, there's nothing sacred. So I took, and they love technology, so you don't take out your phone unless you're willing to give it to them. So it's hard to deal with that. A lot of them, they wanted to have connections, and they don't, like I said, their parents are not around, so they would come up to you and they want to be like Americans. So they would come up and they would have a cell phone but no SIM card. So I'd be talking to them and they'd pull out their cell phone. I knew they didn't have a SIM card. I knew they weren't calling anybody. They pretended they were talking to their mom. Pretended they were talking to their dad. Said, "Who are you talking to?" "My mom." "Where's your mom?" "I don't know." "Can you give me a SIM card?" Pretty intense stuff.
So they speak English?
There are two workers, two male workers and two female workers there, and they all speak English to a certain extent. Richard, the one that I was down there, who met me at the airport, he does speak English. And James, one of the other individuals who was there, who speaks English as well. And so they were able to translate. Some of the kids speak English to a certain extent. When I was there, they went to an English camp, so they're learning the English language. It's very difficult, because you imagine yourself spending all this time with 28 kids, and you can't speak their language, and they don't understand you. And so, I was trying to learn Creole as fast as I could to try to speak with them, and that's definitely a challenge. I was able to speak at least basic Creole so that I could understand what they were saying. They could understand some basic things that I was saying, and then the ones who understood a little more English, I was calling them over. "Hey, can you help me? Can you talk to this other person for me, because I have no idea what they're saying." The three kids that you guys sponsor here, I'll tell you just a little bit about them. You have two boys and one girl, and one of the boys, his name is Luke Mata, and I had a picture of him. I would have shown it to you this morning. But Luke Mata is, I think he was about 12, 11 or 12. And you could definitely pray for him. I'll tell you a little bit about these kids so that you can pray for them. Luke Mata is, we don't know where his parents are. He is a young boy who is very intense. And he wants to succeed and he wants to do well. But at the same time, he gets upset at himself and has a difficult time interacting with other kids at times. Because he wants to do well, when he doesn't do well, he's his own worst enemy. And so one of the things you could pray for him for would be that he would be able to see himself through God's eyes and know that he's okay in God's eyes, and he doesn't have to compete with the other kids and that type of thing. I helped him with his English, and he's an awesome kid. I just noticed that struggle that he had and the frustration that he would have over things. Another one of the children you have is a little boy named Obinson, and he's about 5, and he is precious. I just have to tell you, and this is honest, he would come out and he would have random items of clothing on. You wouldn't know what Obinson would wear from one day to the next. So some days he would come out, and there's a piece to this you've got to understand. He'd come out and he'd have the shirt and the shoes, but no pants, no underwear, nothing. Just the shirt and the shoes. So I'd look and kind of scratch my head, and the other kids didn't say anything. They just kind of, yeah, it's Obinson, and he's not the only one like that. Other ones would do that too. Well, then it would be the next day, and he'd have the shirt, or he'd have the pants, but he wouldn't have the shirt, or something like that. Well, in Haiti, it's not, they are the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, but they have shoes, and they have clothes. Part of it is they choose not to wear some of that. I looked and I saw a whole pile of shoes, but then I saw the kids running barefoot on the rocks. I thought, really? Why wouldn't you grab one of those pairs of shoes? That doesn't make sense to me. Or, we have clothes in there. Why didn't you wear those today? So it was funny with Obenson, kind of as we were getting closer to leaving, I took a look at his shorts. Somebody had tied this waistband around his shorts. That there was no way they were coming off. So he was taken care of, which was pretty cool. He is, like I said, 5 years old, wants to be in your lap, and he's the cutest kid that you'd ever want to imagine. I mean, he is just awesome. The third child that you have, her name is Sedline, and she's 12, and she is kind of a quiet, shy girl. She wasn't, right in your face. You'd have to kind of engage her. And one of the things that I noticed with her is that she was always looking to try to be like the other girls. And she clearly didn't have a male figure or a female role model, so she's looking at the other girls to try to connect with them. So one of the things you could pray for her would be that she would find her peace in God, and that she would not be looking for that peace, trying to fit in with others. She was an amazing little girl. One of the things I have to tell you is every one of those kids are amazing athletes. I mean, I rolled a soccer ball out there, and I've never seen any kid play like they play. I mean, from the 5-year-olds to the 16-year-olds, every one of them know how to play. If they have shoes on, they probably have different shoes, like one's a slipper and one's a tennis shoe. But they were amazing. They beat any kid that you'd imagine around here. I mean, it's just in their blood. They're awesome. But they play barefooted on the rocks, and they're awesome. So those are the 3 kids. The other person I would ask that you would pray for would be Nicole. She's obviously going through a tremendous time. There's no way to put words to what she's going through. I knew going down there that my role was to help orphans and widows. I was helping the orphans by being there. I was trying to help Nicole as much as I could. I sat with her, I talked with her, prayed with her, and she struggles. Haiti is a difficult place, and she has had some terrible things happen in her life. But one of the things that I always find hope with in Nicole is she inspires me. Every time I talk to her, she says, I have nothing, Brett. I have zero. Do you know what it means to have zero? I have nothing. But I have everything. I said, tell me more, Nicole. She said, I have God. Jesus is the only answer for me. Every time I get up, the only reason I can get out of bed in the morning is because Jesus is there for me. She said, I have zero. I have nothing. She said, if you understand this, your spouse is like a cog in a wheel, and they know all the little dents in the cog fit just perfectly with you and your spouse because you know each other. That was Dave to her. She'd break down crying. She says, in a minute I can scream, I can cry, I can wail, I can be happy, I can laugh in a minute's time. As I talked with her, I asked her, how can I pray for her? What can I do? And she said again, be here with the kids. Let them play with you. Show them what a dad is to them. She said, you can pray for me in the area of protection, wisdom, discernment, and safety. And so I prayed for her many times. She would, like I said, I'd be talking to her, and the next thing I'd turn around and she'd just be sobbing, and I'd just grab her and embrace her, and she'd just cry into my shoulder. The first day I got there, we got in they don't do traffic like we do traffic around here, just to tell you. They don't. People don't drive the same way. Everybody rides in the back of a truck. You can get 20 people in the back of a pickup truck, a small little pickup truck, and they just kind of hang on, stand in the back, hang on to the bumper, whatever it is. The police are very limited. The UN is basically providing security there. And so I get in this truck with Nicole. We're flying down this road. There are dirt roads in many cases, huge potholes. the laws aren't there as far as driving, so so you can pass on the left. People turn their blinker on if they want to. If they don't want to, they don't have to. They can turn it on, point it left, and turn right. They can turn it on and point right and go left. You have absolutely no idea what they're going to do. They pass. We were driving, and we were going around this hairpin turn, going really fast, and I thought, there's no way that this driver's going to pass. He can't see. There's no way. There's kids in the car. He just passes. Just goes around, big Mack cement truck coming the other way. We go 3-4 wide on this blind corner. Just how they do things there. So as we were driving, after we got there, we went to the orphanage. And I'll just kind of tell you, there are two pieces. They have an orphanage that they're renting right now. And they have the 28 kids, and it's in a place called Quadabuque, which, again, if you look at the embassy site, it says, do not go to Quadabuque, an American embassy. But when you get there, this orphanage is right on the main street. It's got a huge iron gate in front of it, and all the people, the traffic, people walking by, walk right in front of this gate. And it's an iron gate, so you can see them walk by, and the kids are trapped behind this gate in the orphanage. And so there's major concerns about the location that they're at. You've got, 16-year-old girls standing at the gate, and these men walking by wanting to have conversations with them. So the location that they have for the orphanage is not good. They also have this house that was built, just as a regular house. Well, they put 28 kids in it, plus, like 5 different staff members who are there. So you think of the septic. They've had to redig the whole septic in the backyard. And so Nicole takes me to that place, so I see that, and I'm trying to process it and say, okay, well, how is this going to be the most beneficial place for these kids? And then she says, but there's hope, Brett. Let's take a look at the property that we own. So we go about, it's, maybe it's like a 10-minute walk from the orphanage. And it's this place that's back behind the main street in Quadabuque, so you don't have the traffic of people walking by. And it's this plot of land that is that's surrounded by cinder block walls, like a 12-foot cinder block wall with razor wire all the way around the top. And it's grassy on the inside, huge iron gate with a lock on it. And then they built some shelters there where they have like overhang, like an awning, and they have tents underneath of them and some different tents on the property. And they've actually got a well there, and they've got different kinds of trees that they've been trying to use the trees for food. So there are plantain trees. There are also papaya, and I can't remember what the other one was. It's another kind of tree there, and mango trees. And so they're using those for food. And then they also have their clotheslines. They wash their clothes over there. They have a well but no pump, so they can get water, but they can't. So they're using washboards, and they have just a bucket that they drop down. They have the foundation of the orphanage poured, and I was going to show you a picture of it this morning. So the foundation is there. It's an amazing piece of property. As I got there with Nicole, we walked across the orphanage, across the foundation, and she said, "Brett, I want you to see something." So I walk over with her. Well, inscribed in the foundation is a tribute to Big Dave. And she wanted me to see it really badly. And then she just started crying, and she hardly could even show it to me. Well, I walked over there and took a look at it, and it had his name on it. It said Big Dave, and then it had a scripture. And I'll read the scripture to you, which goes along with this idea of, now that you know, do what it says. This is, you don't have to turn there if you don't want to. I'll just read it to you. But it's 1 Chronicles 28, 9, and 10. That's what's inscribed in the foundation. And this is where David is basically saying, I've been a warrior. I'm not the one who's going to be building this whole, this huge, sanctuary. It's going to be my son. Solomon's going to do this. And so David is passing this on to Solomon. And so the scripture of 1 Chronicles 28:9 says, "And you, my son Solomon, acknowledge the God of your father, and serve him with wholehearted devotion and with a willing mind. For the Lord searches every heart and understands every motive behind the thoughts. If you seek him, he will be found by you. But if you forsake him, he will reject you forever. Consider now, for the Lord has chosen you to build a temple as a sanctuary. Be strong and do that work." That's the tribute to Dave that's in the foundation. Along with that, Eyes Wide Open, as Jim was talking about, if you go onto their website, they have Proverbs 24:12, which is basically, now that you know this, you are now responsible to act. And so I keep going back to this and saying, okay, God, how can I act? What can I do? Now that I know all this information and I know we've got 28 kids and we know that there are tremendous needs, how can I act? Well, I'm just going to share with you, these are ways that you could get involved. Okay, these are ways that you could get involved in things that you could do. First of all, there's a team going in December. They're going to be staying on the orphanage property in the tents. Like I said, there are 28 kids. Some of the kids are partially sponsored. Some of the kids are fully sponsored. They don't have a well on the property. So again, just water, but no way to pump that water out so that they could actually use that water, for showers and that kind of thing. They don't have any transportation, other than one of the people that they've hired has a pickup truck, but you can't carry all 28 kids in it, so they take taps, which are the taxis. So they have a vehicle. They have the one that Dave got shot in. They have another vehicle that's a people hauler, but it's all broken down. So they need a bus. But you can't really send a bus there very easily because it gets stuck in customs and bribes and all kinds of terrible stuff. So it's not easy to do that. Nicole is working with a corporation called World Thirst International, and what she has been working on, and what Jennifer and I are trying to team with her in, is sustainability. These people come in and they provide all these resources for people in Port-au-Prince and in Haiti, and then they pull out, and it's just like, you gave us something, we knew you weren't going to stay, and you're out, and Haiti's forgotten about. So people who are committed, people who hear this message and say, okay, I really am in, I'm on board with that. They need contractors, people who would go down and build. So if you're interested in any of those avenues, Jennifer and I foresee ourselves going back, and you can contact me. Jim and Belita have my number. You can call me. I can set you up if you're interested in going. It's very cheap to fly to Haiti. It's really inexpensive. So they need a tremendous amount of help. And so that's kind of all. Do you have any questions?
When Nicole came over and she told the story about David, maybe I'm the only one who missed this, but was it ever said why David was shot?
So the question is, Nicole mentioned about Dave, and the question is, was it ever mentioned as to why David was shot? You can take a look on the at Eyes Wide Open website, and it has the news broadcast and the newspaper clippings of all that took place. In a nutshell, Dave was walking out of a bank in Port-au-Prince. He had money that he was taking to start the orphanage. They basically sprayed bullets at his car, and he got shot in the chest and shot in the abdomen. Again, on the embassy website, it says, never go to an ATM, never, let anybody know that you're picking up money. So it's not like the common person is going to have that issue. What happens in Haiti that I found out is when it's like they'll know that you've been there for a little bit of time, and they kind of map out your patterns. And they see that this is kind of what you do, and you go here, and you get this, and you go here. I went with nothing. I mean, I didn't wear a watch, didn't wear a ring, I just looked like I was, of dirt of the earth. But there are just some things that you don't want to do, and that was something that just ended up being just a terrible situation that, was really unforeseen. So that's what happened, and then he was they tried to treat him in Haiti and then medevac him to University of Miami Hospital. So, okay. So, thank you guys, and thank you for your support.
Thank you, Brad. That was an excellent presentation. I don't know if the rest of you were able to or not, but everything he said, I was able to visualize exactly what he was saying. And I think you can see clearly the answer to my question is, yes, it's a good place to put your money. And so those of you that do give to this church, you know that a portion of what you give goes there, as well as to Chrysalis, as well as to the Rescue Mission, and as well as a lot to benevolent needs locally in the area. Right at the present, we give away about 45% of what comes in. So if you check that with other situations and all, I think you'll find out that's pretty good for a church to do. So hopefully you can feel good about giving here. Hopefully you can feel good about praying for these people in this situation. And some of you, as Brett said, may want to go. And if you have a desire to do that, then that can be worked out also. I wish we had more time, but Brett's going to be here. You can go by and look at the pictures that he has. And if you do have questions, you can go by and ask him. Okay? Maybe one day we'll be in a situation where we don't have to quit at a certain time, but we have to quit now. So we have our offering bucket here. If you want to participate with the church in that way, please do. If you can stay and eat with us today, we'd love to have you stay and eat and visit. And remember, baptismal service, those being baptized, be down there at a quarter till. And the rest of you that want to be there at 1 o'clock. And we'll look forward to seeing you there. Again, Brett, thank you so much. An absolute excellent. I could listen to 1 hour. Most everybody could, and I know you have a lot of other things to say, but God willing, I'll get to preach again next week. So God bless you. Have a great week. You're dismissed.